Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, man. We've done 3 episodes so far. On episode 4, I figured we come to a special place to kind of wrap things up on our foundation.
Yeah.
So I brought us to downtown San Jose, at least a view of it. We didn't grow up in downtown, but you know, this city is kind of what molded us, right? How do you feel about it?
You definitely picked a beautiful setting, and it's a breath of fresh air on this beautiful evening. And yeah, I feel good. Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out Diego. This is awesome. So 3 pillars. I feel like we're gearing up now. The first few episodes was to kind of figure things out. And I want to use today to kind of wrap up the tone of what we should accomplish. Okay. So reflecting back, what do you think is a defining moment as a child that kind of makes low with regards to like art?
Specifically, or I think in general, is just life's experiences. All of the interactions I get with the people in my life and the conversations and the energies. Regarding art is just the inspiration to create, and seeing visual art as a means of expression, and then being able to kind of start my journey as an artist through tangible mediums, you know.
Can you give me like a specific event, and I know there has to be one, where either you wanted to draw or you were drawing, and that was like that first moment that took you to that place?
Oh, definitely, like from the last episode when we were talking about watching anime and being able to draw and recreate something that I enjoyed watching so much, you know.
How did you end up recreating that again? Like, walk me through that day.
So it was a buildup of just watching TV and drawing were 2 huge parts of my childhood. And so watching Dragon Ball Z, the anime, that was a historical experience in my life. And I remember watching it, and I would be really immersed into that reality, you know. And that was like my earliest memories of watching something and being able to tune in and almost escape into that, right? And then having these images in my head from watching it so much, I wanted to recreate it on paper. Maybe subconsciously, I was just trying to learn the steps on how those things were created. And through art, over time, I've been able to get a stronger understanding for just creating and drawing and animation, things like that. Yeah.
So like how that character is drawn.
Exactly, just how it came to be, you know, getting to the root of things. I feel like as a child, I had a very strong intuition to always see the process of things, and I always want to dig down to the roots of things to understand it better, you know?
Like, yeah. Why were some decisions made like that?
Yeah, or just how they were created, you know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And where did you end up just like getting a piece of paper and drawing it?
Yes. Yeah, because then those things were easily accessible to me as a child, and it was just powerful to me, because I remember as a kid that drawing gave me a sense of fulfillment, or it intrigued my mind, you know. And regardless of how challenging it was, or any obstacles I might have faced creatively, it didn't matter, because there was no one's outside external opinions that could stop me from doing what I was doing, because it didn't matter, because I got to create my own opinion and my own almost reality and my perspective on what I was creating, and it was all me, you know. I didn't have to ask for help.
How'd that feel at the time? Was it like a safekeeping kind of thing?
Define safekeeping for
Like
me.
when you didn't need others' opinions and you were just in your space, you felt safe, or how did you feel?
I think I felt more intrigued than anything.
Intrigued.
Yeah, because the day-to-days and being a child and you're under the supervision and the guidance of your caretakers, the people who are in charge of you. It as a kid, I feel like it didn't allow for free thought. So days became monotonous, you know? Life's experience became monotonous, and it was almost like a mental block that maybe you might not, or maybe I might not have realized it or processed it that way, but internally you feel it. You feel it and you acknowledge it, especially when you get a creative outlet where you're able to express yourself freely and create your own judgment for it, you know? And so that was like, that definitely was how I fell in love with drawing.
Yeah. Thanks for revisiting that. And you'll see why in a bit why I bring it up again.
How about yourself?
I told you this story before.
Yes.
It was when I was younger, my dad had a recording studio. And there was always young cats in there going in. And, you know, as a youngin', I was probably like 6, 7 years old. I remember, you know, always being curious, like, you know, these people are showing up with guitars or pianos and they just all go into this room, right? And I, you know, my dad used to always bring me to the studios, right? But I was never allowed in. And, you know, I'm sure it was to be productive, right? But what I did do a lot was look through the door, you know, because the doors weren't always shut, right? I could look through the little seam, and I'd be that kid, like putting my eyeball right next to it, right next to that door seam, and just look inside. And it could be blurry, but I'm just looking at what the fuck, what are they doing? And they're creating. I didn't know what they were doing really though, right? Like I just saw them pressing keys and playing the guitar and talking to each other and structuring lyrics, and I was just like, dude, I did that for years. I never once stepped in the room. Never once. I was always outside.
During the recording process. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want to be bothered, you know. I was just just like you, always intrigued, right? Like, man, like I need to know more. What are they doing? Like, how are they doing it? Like, who taught them? I want to learn too. You know, that was always my urge. And then one day, I went in because my dad wasn't there, and only one guy was in there, and I didn't say shit. I just went in and stood in the corner. And then one day the rest of the crew came in and they were creating, and for once I was inside that room, but I was quiet as a mouse, and I was just sitting there and then seeing them create and writing and singing and guitars and pianos and everything, and I was just like, you know what? This is it. This is all the fuck I want to do in my life. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what kind of money they're making. I don't know, you know, what goes into this, you know, to get here, but I just knew from then and there, like, this is what I wanted to do. And look at us now. So
That's amazing, by the way. Especially to grow up in a house like that. I used to fantasize about those type of things. What caused the feeling of inspiration though? Like specifically with music, was it the production of it, or was there like a specific song they were playing that sparked that inside of you? Was it the camaraderie, or what do you think it was that made you have that
That light bulb? Good question. It's gotta be the freedom. You know, you and I both know, like, we don't like having clocks around us, because I don't want to be reminded of what time it is. I don't want to be limited by anything, right? The freedom was of, you know, growing up, I was always like told what to do, you know, and I'm sure a lot of Asians can relate with this. Go be a doctor, go be a fucking lawyer, go be a nurse, whatever, fucking, you know, like the kind of jobs that from the outside look like secure, goodwill jobs, right? Yeah. But for once, like seeing that process is like them making whatever they wanted. You know, like they didn't have to stick to a genre. They didn't have to. I mean, that's the whole point of creating, right? You could do whatever you want. You know, that was definitely what intrigued me, because then I felt a sense of like, wow, even though I don't know the blueprint, I feel like the fact of this freedom allows me to have control again of my own life and my own destiny. When digging deep, that's what the light bulb moment was for me.
Okay. I have another question. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What was your first experience with just music and sound, that the earliest that you remember, where it made you feel a specific emotion? Like whether that was like, man, that was very soothing, or that was like, man, this is making me kind of sad and we want to shed a tear. Like, because then, you know, music makes me feel like that. It hits the soul, right? And I'm just curious. I'm just curious for you, like your earliest memories of listening to something, you're like, wow, that was powerful, and why?
My uncle, shout out to Buwan. He's here. He lives in San Jose. You know, I got a lot of uncles, a lot of aunts, but he was the youngest of the bunch, and I was very close to him growing up, and I'm forever grateful for the moments that I'm about to share. You know, he was in high school, college at the time, and in his car, he would always have Boyz II Men or Mariah Carey. One of them two CDs in the car. And I can't remember where we were going or whatever, but we were driving somewhere, and I Swear by All For One comes on. I swear. Everyone knows that song, right? And that was and I've always heard him play the songs, but that was my first time like sitting there like, wow, this song is like really pulling my strings right now, pulling my heart, my mind, to a point where you're like listening and you're just staring into the radio and just like, what's happening? You know, like this song was the like building blocks to like why I love R&B so much, right? And I've mentioned this before, but I've always been driven by women. So, in my entire youth, you know, I was never like you know, smooth my words or whatever, but I was always confident enough to go fool around and just sing to a girl. And I Swear was definitely one of the songs I used to always do.
That's amazing. So would you just randomly like stand up in class and sing the song, or just walk up to a girl at lunch and pull her by the hand and sing the song to her? Or would you make sure that there was that everyone had your attention first, or would you, how'd that go down?
It was always intimate. For me, it was always on the bus.
Nice.
You know, pull up next to her, just randomly start singing her. It had nothing to do with the conversations, and I was just singing her, and you know, eye contact all the way through. But yeah, man, the freedom of these things, the amount of joy and like silliness that brought into my life, you know, it all became my identity. Yeah.
I like how you said that you were not good with your words or confident with your words, but you could always confidently express yourself through singing or music or some kind of like harmony, maybe, right? And I feel like as creatives, we share that similar, because I wasn't really good with my words either. You know, my mom did not speak English, and I came from a Vietnamese speaking household, so you can only imagine how broken my English was as a kid growing up, you know? And expressing myself was very difficult, for a very long time. And being able to express myself through different ways as a kid, I had outside of speech, like just through my actions, through skills or like activities, and especially drawing. That was just like, I remember scribbling on a paper really aggressively and looking at that and being able to identify that as anger, or draw something very technically and very soft and know that it was at a calm state of mind, you know what I mean? And I felt like that was like the first times where I was able to honestly express myself, you know, for sure. And that was always very sacred to me. So you sharing that experience of like going out and singing to people, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I feel like I can understand that confidence and that creative expression.
Man, to kind of ride off of yours, like the singing was always accompanied by a guitar.
All
right? And they, you know, obviously the sounds that come out of a guitar is not words at all, but it always had feels, right? And I asked you a little bit about this earlier, but that was my safe space. You know, when I couldn't say the things I wanted to say, when I couldn't process the things I wanted to process, when I was scared, when I was lonely, music was always my safe space. And I'm sure you can relate, but there are definitely some scary and lonely times in life, you know, to where this craft that was bestowed upon us was everything I needed at the time. You know, no matter what season we went through, you know.
It's that friend.
Yeah.
For the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because definitely, I see drawing in the beginning as safe in the way of like not providing comfort, but more like where I'm able to freely reference and navigate life through that medium without the fears of the external judgments from the people that were naturally casting a shadow over me.
Interesting.
So when I'm drawing, there will be a lot of challenging times. I'll be very frustrated, definitely angry. I couldn't get something, and I would reference a lot, but I found the safety in the freedom of being able to learn without any scrutiny, because growing up in a household where my mom was sometimes overbearing to the point where it's like, I understand that it was for protection to whatever capacity that she could understand that. And it was overbearing. So it's like, we didn't get to have our own voice in a way, you know? Everything would be shut down. We would be told how to think. We'd be told about the things going on. And I was a very intuitive, curious kid. Like, if I could walk across the street and then go do whatever and hang out down by the lake or down by the creek or in the forest or whatever, like, I'll be there for hours, you know? I want to do those type of things. But being so suffocated by the protection, drawing allowed me to learn freely, you know? And as difficult as it was because of my limited experience and my limited vocabulary and the way I articulate or express things, that was something that, even though it was as challenging as it was, I held on to it for such a long time because I needed to figure that out, because that helped me figure out life. And through art has been my greatest teacher of my life. Like, it's been my greatest guide. It's taught me a lot about myself and just about life. You know? Yeah, it's brought me to a lot of places. Yeah.
How fortunate is that?
I mean,
can you imagine a life without it?
Probably, yeah.
Because you mentioned something just now, how you said it helped you navigate life.
Yes.
Because, you know, we're in our 30s now. We've lived some life so far, and we've had some experiences so far. Walk me down that path. Like, how did art maintain to be your lighthouse?
So, growing up, I was very introverted. I lived in my mind a lot, right? And outside influences and tangible things and goals and sensory things, I was not really too invested into those type of things, you know? It was just more of a curiosity to figure things out, because I felt, honestly, my insecurity was like, I was a dumb kid, you know what I mean? Or I didn't know enough because people made me feel that way, right? So I had this dying urge to figure things out so I could have knowledge so that I can be a part of the equation, which is life, you know? And throughout all my years of working and going through the trials and tribulations of a man and heartbreaks and experiences and life's experiences, art always allowed me to either figure things out technically or in a subjective, abstract way. And putting things onto paper and creating that process and learning the steps and how those things work helped me take that process and contrast it with how life works. And I was able to almost metaphorically use the process of art to describe what I was going through in life, you know? Because I know that during my teenage years, that's when the brain started working, you know, and understanding that these processes and the way I see things and the way I view the art and my emotions and my judgment and my development through it directly translates to my train of thought when it comes to life's experiences and me, myself as a person. As I grew older and older, art became more of an occupation, became more of a connecting tool that I used to learn about people and create businesses and make money for myself. And so that has always been my guide, because as my art grew and developed, so did I as a person. Because the only way that you grow in art creatively is if you reflect on it, critique yourself, be honest about it, and then make the changes either mentally, visually, or physically to develop and create something with growth. And that's the same thing for life. And that art has always been my teacher in that way, because I didn't have guidance, at least not from people that I respected or allowed into my confidence enough. And art was like, it's just me, a part of me, you know? And so everything that it taught me, even all the pains and all the criticism that put me down, the negativity and all of that stuff, it hit me right at home. It always hurt, you know? Or when I got some satisfaction from like making money, or people were loving my art, or I got some recognition, that hit me in the heart too. But I got to feel that, you know? And that's why art is always sacred to me, because I wasn't listening to nothing else, you know, because this is me, you know? And I have to thank art, because that has always been my best friend, bro, you know, for sure.
Yeah. Can you imagine a life without it?
Man, honestly, like, yeah, I'd probably be doing something cool, like, you know? I'd be like in the Army or the Marines or something, like, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, man. You have some amazing awareness, bro, of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if that was forever or if that just more recent.
I think it's always been forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now that I'm diving more into psychology.
Yeah.
I'm learning that there's two different types of life experiences. So you have the intuitive extrovert, and then you have the intuitive introvert. And those are like extremes on that scale. One is intuitive in the mind, and then one is a sensory experience. Some people are goal chasers. They are the leaders, and the gamblers, and the people who look for accolades and validation through fantasy goals. So you live in a fantasy, you know? And then you have the exact opposite of that, who does not care for those type of things, and they look at the self and how the self plays a role in building our consciousness, what we perceive, you know? And I've always been on that scale. As I grew older, so imagine this two ends of the spectrum, right? Consciousness is right here. It feels that, right? I've always been on that side of the scale, but you know, as we grow older, regardless of whatever side of the scale you're on, you always have to compensate on the other side, because you're gonna reach a point where it's like, man, I need to figure something out, and this is not working, so I now need to go back to this side. Same thing, you know? And yeah, man, I mean, it's just, that diagram right there helps me understand myself, you know? And I always knew that I lived in my head for a long time. I still do, you know? And that's just me, you know? I'm an intuitive person. I've tried, as we're older now, right? Men, and you know, I see my peers have kids and cars, and you know, they reach for these accolades and you know, search for these type of things. And a part of me, because I've been so kept to myself for so long, I try to dive into the other side and like, you know, I'm gonna try this out. But every time I buy something nice for myself, or I have a nice home, or like I might have the things that I thought that people should have in their lives. I always end up just giving it away. It's just natural. Like, it doesn't jive with me, you know? I can't even wear jewelry. You know, it's just like, it's the superficial, the tangible things, like, it has no meaning to me. Not in the sense of like my fulfillment of who I am as a person. And so, I think that's what caused a lot of distress in my life these last few years, bro. Now that I sit back and I pondered over it, is that I was trying too much to feel an ego and be a person and try to fit in with this crowd, you know, and the crowd of life and society by what is presented to us. You have to have a job, you have to have a status, you have to have this type of things. And I think that was causing a block in me, bro, that I just didn't like who I was anymore, and that made me dive into like ways of suppressing it. And then now that I'm sober and we're at where we're at now, I could really come back and center myself. Like, oh no, man, that's just not me. You know, I'm an introvert. You know, and I like that part of me.
Gotta get back to it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm a thinker. How about you? Are you familiar with both those terms? I'm sure you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have reflected quite a bit together, right? And we've gotten to a part of our lives that child we brought up earlier, I don't know if that child even thought of where we were gonna be.
No, probably not.
Probably not, right? We just wanted to draw. We just wanted to work on this and that, right? But when I think about getting to these levels and getting to different places, especially in this last couple of years, I'm with you there. I realize, wait a minute, am I really doing what the little kid in me wanted to do?
In terms of what?
My core values of making music and just loving music, or that I somehow kind of went adrift because of earning money, because of, you know, chasing status, chasing whatever, right? So I felt like the last few years have definitely been an awakening for me to be like, yo, this is not what I want. And I remembered what I want. And now I'm on a journey to get there. And for me, it's being fulfilled by doing what I love. And not having my joy not being dictated by what I earn or what I do, you know? Because for a long time, it just felt numb, you know, because I could do it. You know, we've become so technically sufficient that we could do it with our eyes closed, right? So I guess that's the journey now.
It's like, it's powerful to have that insight, and it's just this experience like is the next step to I think growing as adults now, and the next step in not our careers but our creative mindsets. Because like you said, just the fact of creating, learning, and building new things gets robbed away from you when now you are not doing it just for that sole reason. You're doing it to supplement a superficial factor. And it's like, okay, cool, like you're navigating that for a while, and now you're creating projects that you don't want to create. Now you're forcing yourself because of a financial burden. Now you
try to make ends meet.
Exactly. These exterior motives that takes away from the creative, right? Now it's like, why wouldn't we just make a production company and make 1,000 of the same things?
Yeah.
Right? And then, okay, cool. But it's like, but that robs you of the satisfaction of being a creative and why you do it in the first place, you know? And it's funny because I feel like a lot of people will watch this and they'll be like, man, our problems are like, they have different kind of problems, and they're hearing us, they're like, what the hell, these aren't even real problems, you know? That doesn't benefit society, right? But at the end of the day, unless you're a creative or a person that thinks intuitively, and you get that intuition robbed away from you, it's like losing a limb.
Yeah.
It's like losing a limb, you know? And that's the best way I could describe it, bro. Like, it's very painful, you know? And so thank you for sharing.
To add to that, our very own well-being. You know, like, I am thankful that I've gotten to a point where my capacity is not as burnt out, to where I can breathe a little better now and not worry about this and that. And I have support now within the studio, you know, to be able to dial things back and get my eyes back on the lighthouse, you know, and breathe again. I did mention this before, but I feel like for a while that inner child was yelling and calling for me, but he was beneath 20 fucking feet of concrete. And with the way things were going, I felt like all I had at the time was a fork to dig him out. How do you feel about that concept?
I think you paint a very vivid picture, and you use very strong words like concrete, because I could imagine like that was what the process was, to try to break it down and try to figure out what's wrong, you know?
Yeah.
So getting back into your core values, like you said, right? And that's powerful, man. Like, trapped under concrete. If people can only imagine how hard it is to dig through something like that with a fork, right? And so how's that fork looking now? Like, and
Well, the motivation, you know, aside from the concrete, was like, you know, that inner child was also had no windows. It was alone. Who knows what kind of space it was, but maybe it could have just been a little box. And so I started digging. And shout out to my homie Paul. He did mention that, hey man, if a fork is what you got, is what you got. But at least you're digging, right? At least you hear the cries. At least you're working on attaining a shovel one day and getting deeper and deeper so that you can get back there. And there were times when things were so numb that this concept came in my mind, and you know, as men, whatever, right? I don't really know how to like cry like that, but that was one of the first times in my adult like life that I felt the urge come up again to cry, because the yearning for that inner child was so strong, to like wanting to go back and embrace it.
feeling something.
Yeah. And wanting to save myself. You know, like, because I don't want to. I mean, everyone says life goes by so quickly, right? And I don't want to be 60 and still feel this way. You know, like 30 more years of it, whatever, you know, like I want to be able to enjoy what I chose what to love, you know, because this love has brought so many blessings my way, from things that happen to performing live and feeling those butterflies, to all those creations in the studio, to meeting people like you. Like, it's given me so much.
For the viewer's sake, if you were to throw out a ballpark number of how many things you've created inside that studio over the past almost 10 years, how much? Just for the viewer's sake, so they know. How many projects? Ballpark.
Realistically, I can't count, but if I average it out, I'd say easily over 1,000 music videos.
1,000 music videos.
And they vary in level, right? With regard to music,
Beats.
because I don't just make music for myself. You know, we're in a collaboration network, right? And so, God, I've easily made 500-600 songs. They're not all mine, but I've worked on that many. Within only the last 7-8 years.
Those are huge numbers. And I wanted to underline that because, you know, Dale's talking about his experiences in the studio here. And for those of you tuning in that don't know what we do too well, Some of you guys can only imagine how hard it is to make one music video or one song or one beat or to sing even into one microphone. And Dale has done over 1,000 music videos and hundreds on hundreds of songs and beats. It's insane. That's actually insane. You know?
What about you? How much have you drawn and how many tattoos have you given or worked on? Is it even countable?
Oh, the things I've drawn. So on paper, physically, it's in the thousands, dude, for sure.
Over a decade or like lifespan?
A lifespan, yeah, 1,000, and just artwork, you know, artwork in general. Tattoos, I'm in the thousands. Yeah, I'm in the thousands, and just hours of teaching. Over the years, though, being able to draw with different mediums and do a lot of different types of work, I've been able to develop a skill where I can draw in my head. So a lot of times when I'm brainstorming a design for a client or I'm brainstorming in general, I have a catalog in the library of my head of drawings that I can start and stop and come back to.
That's insane. Like you can see the entire visual in your mind, and in moments time it will come out.
Yeah, I can do that with drawing. I can do that with micron pens, and I can do that with a little bit of painting, and then I can do that with tattooing all in my head. I can see the full process from consultation to setup to what needles I'm going to use to the design itself. I have it all in my head. Yeah, and also referencing for a lifetime. I have a library of references in my head. Yeah, I'm constantly drawing in my head. Yeah.
It's crazy you brought that up because it only comes from the billions of hours that you put towards this.
Absolutely, and feeling the power of visualization in my head. Yeah, in my mind, because I live in my mind, you know. Yeah.
I often tell this to interns that we always have. Like, they're always asking like, oh, if you were to create like a beat in a certain genre, how long would that take you? My answer is always the same. I can make a beat in less than an hour. Yeah. And it's the same reason. Because of all the years and years and years of referencing and studying the material and breaking it down piece by piece on why decisions were made, why they were conducted like that. It's such a love that it just consumes, you know? And with that library of references, I'm able to just turn it on and pick what I need and make the beat.
So are you able to create it in your mind? Are you able to hear a beat in your mind first, have an idea of what you want, and then come out and then do it? Or do you have to do it after the fact? Like, do it as you go?
So if we were to break it down to music and lyrics, the music part of it, I hear the entire thing already. Like the moment, the prompt is given to me, or the moment I'm sitting there wanting to create, and the moment I figure out what chords I want to use, I can hear the whole thing already. Makes sense. I can hear where it goes. I can hear the valleys, the highs. I hear everything, and I know exactly what I want to put in what spot.
Makes sense.
And in a matter of less than an hour, it comes out. With lyrics, on the other hand, is something that I didn't really start getting into until about 7 years ago when I opened a studio with helping clients write and stuff, because I was always focused on the production side of things. Lyrics, on the other hand, I can't see it yet. I can't see the full picture yet. But that makes me really reflect on, damn, we really put our life towards this.
Oh, yeah. I've been using the term, that's amazing, I've been using the term devoted a lot. Devoted, yeah, because it just makes up the bulk of your day. And I feel like any true craftsman of a skill set, whether that's martial arts or arts or anything, like you have to be, because this type of stuff is like, you want to be able to express yourself through whatever mediums, you can't half-step it, It has to be a full-time job. This is not part-time, Yeah, because it will show, right? Yeah.
And even if I'm sure you've had jobs over the lifespan.
Yeah.
Same with me, like, even during the job, you're thinking about it. When you get home after the job, you're thinking about it.
Oh, it's all I think about, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when, it comes down to accountability, like how bad do you want it, how much do you really love it? right? You're doing it day in and day out, no matter how you feel, no matter how life goes, you're always thinking about this shit.
Yeah. For myself, like I hear that a lot, but I think it's because of creating ever since I was a child and not starting when I was later. I never had that feeling of like, how much do I love it? How bad do I want it? It was just something I did. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna do it either way. Like, even if I failed 100 days in a row, or like I was not proud of myself, I'm still gonna do it on the 100th first day. You know, like it was never a matter of like, do I hate it? Do I love it? It was just a part of me. Visualization and developing any craft in my mind. You know, like that was just. If I'm not doing that, I'm doing something monotonous and it's just speech or like something outside of a creative skill set, I feel like I just wasn't, like life wasn't worth living. They're not even worth living, but it's just like didn't have any meaning. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I needed to use my creative expression as a way to just fulfill life. You know, and it's like breathing. I tell that to a lot of people. It's like breathing.
You don't think about it.
Yeah, it's like you just have to do it. You know. Yeah, I never had that problem. You know. Yeah, or that thought process really. Actually, I wouldn't say never. During these last few years where me and you started talking about mental health, and my relationship with art did fall off because that creative expression was taken away by the different types of goals that we set, you know? And that was the biggest heartbreak I ever went through, you know? For sure. Like not even with people, not with no girlfriends, not with any family or anything like that. Losing my love for art or having a rocky relationship with that hurt me more than anything in the world. And I needed to figure that out, you know? And I'm glad we got to this point right now of being sober and having open communication with a creative, like how we were talking about earlier. A lot of people, you can talk to therapists, you can talk to people, you can talk to whoever, homies, yeah. But until you meet another die-hard, devoted creative going on a similar path and having similar obstacles that they're going through, and just so happened that me and you during that time were going through very similar experiences, similar heartbreak, you know, and we're able to have each other to do this, and that is really the essence of why 3 Pillars was created. That was the foundational experience that allowed us to sit down and be open, because I didn't know what the term mental health was until I was about 30 years old, you know. And so going through that whole process and sitting here and being able to talk about clearly, it's amazing, man. Yeah.
That is the essence of why we're here.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened since our 30s, right?
Yeah.
And how do you feel about it all now? Like in this process of getting back?
Clarity.
You feeling clarity?
Clarity.
Explain.
Instead of, what I was explaining to my staff in my shop during that time where we were going through just trying to process and unraveling that complexity, right? Is that when you go to the dentist and they put that numbing thing in your mouth and your whole jaw gets numb, I feel like that's how my brain was every day. Like literally, physically, that's how I felt.
Yeah, dude.
I didn't know, like it was very overwhelming, you know? And just because of the stresses and the projects and the abundance of the things that we were doing. But through physical training, mental health, and honestly spiritual healing, because singing the music video, sitting in the studio with you, watching you guys make music, watching you guys record, like that heals a part of you that like I didn't even know that was like that until I was hurt, you know? And being in there was very fulfilling. And now like being able to see through all of these projects that we set out for ourselves and all of our obligations in our lives, it has allowed me a clarity that allows me to focus and fulfill my objective for myself. And that's how I feel now, you know? It's very powerful, bro. And man, I wouldn't have been able to get here if it wasn't for you, bro. You're a huge part of my life now, so appreciate you. Yeah. How do you feel?
Well, thanks for that, and thanks for sharing. The numbing in the teeth, but in your brain.
Yes.
It's a very familiar feeling.
It sucks.
And then it was day in and day out.
Yes.
For a long period of time. Because we both talk about this all the time, but we're workhorses.
For sure.
No matter what the fuck, we're still going.
Yeah.
You know? And at 100% energy, you know? No matter what. But so clarity is yours, huh? For me, I think and only in the recent weeks, I think the term is I finally feel light on my feet again. Because it did feel like I was anchored to something while trying to walk. For a long time, I didn't know what the fuck that was. Until our conversations. Until finding solace in sharing my journey with you, because you're going on something so similar. And to know that there's hope, because we both want it, you know, that we both want to be different. We both want to leave that version and get back to what matters. Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. And those versions keep coming back, you know, and you actually brought up a really interesting concept the other day, if you don't mind sharing. Remember I brought up the other day that I was just going through the motions of like fighting the old way of thinking. And then and then felt like a 3-hour mental battle to like try to shut that voice up because I didn't want to go back to that voice.
Okay, I remember that conversation. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then you had brought up that it was the only friend that we knew, right? And you want to dive into that again?
Yeah. So I remember the conversation and something along the lines of you having an expectation for yourself to do something, which was going to the studio and creating, or taking care of your wife and seeing if she was okay with whatever was going on at the house, and it was creating this emotional burden on you, right? And through sobriety and just this whole journey of like trying to take care of my mental health, all the processes when I'm learning about these new things, I like to visualize. So I like to paint pictures in my head or have animations or drawings, right?
Yeah, take inventory.
Yeah, and so just so I can visualize the pieces rather than just have it portrayed through words, because visualization is like the best way for me to digest something. And I know that inner voice of the expectations. A friend told me, my friend from Japan, he was an ex-monk, he's a poet over there. He had a talk with me. He told me, he asked me if I knew where emotions came from.
Okay.
And I said, I'm not sure. I say experiences, whatever. And I feel like it wasn't deep enough, the words. He said, all emotions come from expectations. Regardless of whatever kind of expectation you have. It could be joy, anxiety, because an expectation is fulfilled, so you have joy. Expectation is not met, so you have anger. You didn't do something correctly, so you feel guilt. You know, it makes sense, right? And when we have those feelings inside of us, it's like we're having an internal conversation. There's two people. There's you, the conscious person, and then there's their mind talking to yourself. But that mind that is having that conversation with you, the dialogue that is created, is only created through your experiences as a kid, by how your caretakers and the people around you were talking to you. The lack of vocabulary is you're not able to portray the message in a way where it doesn't come off angry or judgmental or dismissive, right?
Yeah.
And so that inner voice is built, but it's okay though, because it's still a friend. It's like the message is clear, like you're just trying to look out for you, right? Like for instance, it's like you were going to go to work and you weren't sure if your wife was going to be okay with it or not, something along those lines, right? So that inner voice might be talking to you like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Why have you fucking checked on your wife yet? She's gonna fucking blow up. Like, you're fucking stupid, you know? Whatever that conversation might be. People are so accustomed to listening to things like that. The message is very clear though. It's like, you should check up on her and make sure everything's good because she's your family. Check on your kids.
Yeah.
You can portray the same message using a different type of dialogue. You can get to the same place. That's a very closed-ended way of trying to tell somebody to do something or asking a question.
It leads and it triggers to a world that you know so much of, right?
So I'm thinking with that friend that you have control of, you can change it. Instead of being a closed-ended statement or question, you have to leave it with options and make it open. Like, hey, look, I know you're going to work right now, but have you checked on your wife? Have you ever asked her? Okay, if you did your best and it's all good, go do your thing. Why would you worry about that? The message at the end of the day is still the same. You're trying to still complete that same objective and cross the same checks. But now you're giving yourself options to think about it freely, just as if you would to maybe your son or your daughter. Would you want to ask your daughter questions like that because you cared about her, but make her feel like a piece of shit along the way, right? Of course not. You would want to ask it in a way where it gives her options and then make her think about the processing, right? And then protecting herself by crossing all the T's and making sure she's responsible, but also reminding her that she's doing a good job and that she has options, that she doesn't have to stay stuck and dwelling on that, you know? So when we look at ourselves in the third perspective, now there's a third person looking at these two people, we're able to see that, right? As being our own friend, you know?
And then it becomes a conversation, right? So you can talk about it, talk it out, and dial it down to like, okay, so what should we do? Can we lead this conversation in a better way?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like it's like me, even just me and you talking right now. You know, maybe there was, maybe you have to go, maybe you have to go back to the studio. We had to cut this video short. And I come from a caring place because, and I want to come from a caring place and I care about the video, but then my anger allows me to be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're wasting my fucking time. Why didn't you want to be here with me? Why do you have to do all this and that and blah, 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 blah? The message is still that I care and that I want you to be a part of the video and I want us to sit here and fulfill it. I can say that same message in different words. You know? It's like, hey man, like, okay, I understand. Next time, like, maybe get a heads up, or, you know, just change that dialogue. You have to change that with yourself, because that burden is like, we're so conditioned to listening to ourselves like that we don't realize that it's actually stopping us from even freely pursuing and fulfilling the objectives that we want to fulfill. The mental conditioning. The only way we break free from that is to look at ourselves in the third perspective. The third person in the room, looking at the two people. And that's helped me, you know? Yeah.
Let's wait for these folks to pass.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate that concept that you shared.
Yeah.
And it's because those mental battles can be in there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But when you explained to me that day, it was like, it's like putting everything on the table and being able to see it instead of all being stuck up here.
Yeah.
Right? And like categorizing it, right?
Yes.
And most importantly, what you said about like allowing the tone to take a different direction.
Yes, sir.
You know? That's definitely something I want to keep practicing.
Yeah.
You know? It's almost an hour, bro. She's been giving me cues.
Yeah.
But you know Jay Shetty, the guy, the podcast guy?
Maybe. It's so familiar.
Yeah, he. I just watched one this morning with Nicky Jam.
Okay.
One of my favorite singers.
Okay.
And this could be fun, but they always end with like sets of questions.
Sure.
And it may have something to do with what we just talked about, but I have a few that we could end off with.
Yes, definitely.
Greatest advice you've ever been given?
Knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is true power.
Gangster.
Yeah, that changed my life as a kid.
Do you remember who told you that?
Yeah, it was the first person I ever saw do a tattoo in front of me live at the age of 14 years old.
In the garage?
Garage, yeah.
How did that even come about? Did he just like told you that out of nowhere, or like did you ask him?
So I wanted to pursue tattooing, but during that time, tattooing was a dead-end job in most people's eyes. It was very hard to be successful. And most of the time, tattoo artists were just ex-convicts, and to be a good artist, it took a lot, you know. And he wanted me to instead learn the processes of making tattoo machines. So going to school and learning manufacturing and machining and working with those type of things. And he told me that when I was younger, because he was like, you can know all of this stuff, but go apply it to something and then make something out of it. Not with just art, with just your tangible skills and your knowledge. And that has stuck. And we were at a McDonald's drive-thru. I don't remember a lot of things because of whatever, but I remember sitting in a McDonald's drive-thru. He looked at me and he said that to me, and I was probably like 17 years old or something. And that shit changed my life, bro. Because that gave me clarity in a reinforcing way, and those words helped me illustrate this picture in my head that made sense. And I have been using that ever since. You know, I'm either a 0 or 100 type of person. So anything that I'm intrigued and I devote my time to, I'm all the way. You know what I mean? No matter what it is, you know, I dive deep. And it's real that concept right there is that foundational a guideline for me. Yeah. How about you, Mr. Dan?
Say it one more time though, just so I can have it in my brain.
Knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is true power.
Yeah. Didn't know, never ever heard that quote before, but I live by it as well. Right? Like, learn as much as you want, but you don't do shit about it, then what happens?
You gotta create, man. Yeah.
My mentor always told me, so my greatest advice is, there's always a way. And it doesn't sound that crazy, but for someone who's always been told what to do, it's pretty limiting, right? Like, you can only see life in one way. But in my old job with him, we always had to figure out a solution towards something.
Okay.
Right? And that became the building blocks to like my entire being. Like, I can always figure out something. I don't need someone's help. I could get there by myself if I wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's allowed me to build a confidence. That's allowed me to not care about failing.
Yeah.
You know, because we fail left and right.
Well, absolutely, every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
No matter what level of career we're at, we're failing at something, right?
Yes, sir.
But it's allowed me to not let that take power, right? It's allowed me to keep going.
And you find comfort in the unknown.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because now I know, sure, it's unknown, but in a matter of time, I'm gonna figure this out.
I don't know everything. There's other answers out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if one thing's happening one way, there's another way to make it still work.
Yeah.
You know, and it might glue better with how I operate, right? So I'm sensing a rebellious nature in our youth.
Oh no, in my youth, yeah, I'm that every day. Yeah. I'm every mother's worst nightmare. Yeah. No, but and also their baby boy, you know. That's how I like to look at it. Going back to what you're saying, this is something I've been sharing with a lot with the people around me, because I train younger people. I have a school with the staff and the students and stuff, and I've been using this a lot to visualize for them. I tell them there's more than one way up the mountain.
Yeah.
If you keep trying this one path and like it's not working out for you and you think that's it, then guess what? Like, there's a lot more paths to take, you know? Just try it. And it's just a part of the process. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. It's powerful.
I like that thought process. I bring it up a lot with like hiking and going on different trails and all that.
I think that stemmed from that the hiking reference that you gave me last time. So yeah.
We should go on a hike again, bro. We haven't done that in a while.
Oh yeah.
Even the little ones we've been doing.
Yeah. For sure.
Hey man. Let's wait for them. And that wraps up episode 4.
All right, right on.
How you feel?
I feel good. I just want to take this time to thank everyone who's been watching for taking the time to allow us to give you our introductions. And thank you to Dale and the Burgundy Sweets team for working on this. And I am just beyond grateful to have this platform to share with you guys. And I'm excited for everything that's about to come. Thank you.
Sick. Man, you've helped me grow in so many ways you don't even know, bro. So I can't imagine doing this with anybody else. And we actually started, and now we're going. Love you, bro.
Love you too, bro.
What a view.
All right.